Hello, this is Tom Barnhart from European Business Services Association, and we are happy today to be with Bob Leenen, who is with MSA Saftey or MSA International, and they have just set up a new GBS in Warsaw, Poland. And we want to hear a bit more about the processes, Bob, and yourself and the company. How did the decision get made to move to Warsaw, set up in Warsaw? What processes are you going to be in your GBS in Warsaw? And then we'll find few more things to ask as we develop. But please.
Sure. Yeah, Bob Leenen here, President International for MSA Saftey. That means that on MSA's executive leadership team, I'm responsible for all of our business operations in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. I've been with MSA a little over 10 years, originally from the Netherlands. I did have quite some exposure to shared services earlier in my career. Started my career in consulting and then worked in finance roles for a period of time before moving to general management.
Okay.
And maybe talk a little bit about MSA Saftey, just a brief introduction. Over 100 years old, founded in 1914.
Wow.
One mission really to keep people safe and to keep facilities safe in the workspace. So that is something that is our mission is something that very much engages our people and vice versa. And that is what we're specialized in. And we have operations around the world, roughly 1.5 billion in revenues and around 5,000 associates.
And you're based, US based, and New York Stock Exchange listed as well, right? Where in the US are you based?
We are based in Cranberry Township, which is near Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Okay, great. So tell us a bit about, the audience here is other shared service center directors, both throughout the Central European region, but also let's say their bosses or GBS leaders globally or global process owners globally. And many of them are looking at the world. They're looking at India. They're looking at other parts of Latin America, looking at Central Europe. Tell us about the process internally at the board level or your management, executive management level at MSA Saftey in terms of how you guys arrived, first of all, at Central Europe, but also then drilling down to a decision to set up in Warsaw.
Yeah, I should probably go back a couple of years even before then, because we're late to the game, you could say, with shared services. I think that's fair to say. My original exposure to shared services was 15, 20 years ago already, right?
It's funny you say late, but there are lots of guys still coming in, and
really?
Last year was strong. A lot of people still coming in. So yet somehow, yes, but wow, they keep coming. They keep coming.
Well, so I think it started for us with historically, we were very much a country-based organization, every country with a general manager doing their own thing, full scope, all the functions there. And 7, 8, 9 years ago, we deployed SAP everywhere. So we had a platform all of a sudden where we could do things differently. There were some other priorities at the time, but when I stepped into my role leading the business, there were a couple of things that we wanted to achieve. In one catchphrase, we wanted to transform the international region to be more efficient, agile, and growth focused. So we spent some time strategizing on that and concluded that shared services was going to be one pillar to achieve that. We really wanted to obviously gain from an efficiency perspective. But there were some other objectives as well. We really wanted to declutter a bit what was happening locally, so that locally we focus on driving sales. We manufacture in a few locations, but that we're not fragmented there in what we're doing. We wanted to lift our functional capabilities up and believe that putting these fragmented functions together would enable that. We also wanted to enable more cross-functional collaboration, right? If you have accounts receivable sitting right next to customer service, that's going to give benefits, and we've got marketing sitting right next to it. So we wanted that. We also wanted a little bit more kind of maybe less quantitative objectives to mitigate risks. We're not a huge company, so if you'd have, say, in Portugal, an accountant which goes off sick, it was immediately creating a problem for us.
Yes.
Scale. And then lastly, yes, thinking a bit more longer term, in a higher scale environment, being a shared service center, we believe we can offer more career opportunities for people over time. So a wide range of motivations. Efficiency certainly part of it, but not the only factor.
And in terms of the market you're serving or the services, you international, Europe, of course, but is in the US, do you have a similar kind of shared services or captive operations there, or is that a later stage? Or will this be part of the servicing the US market as well?
Yeah, good question. We have historically had a range of functions centralized in our corporate headquarters in Pennsylvania, but not necessarily with a shared services mindset, right? It's just serving the US market, really. Nothing in Latin America. We did already have progress in APAC a couple of years ago, where we established a relatively small center in Kuala Lumpur, which kind of was for us dipping our toe in the water. Was very encouraging, the progress we made there and the benefits coming from that, and that provided the extra boost to say, let's move forward in EMEA as well.
So as you're looking at that EMEA's decision to set up a GBS or SSE, let's talk about locations. How did you get to this location? And by the way, did you have advisory companies like PwC, EY, someone like that? Tell us a bit more about the processes.
Yeah, so we're not a huge company, so we knew that if we're going to do this, we need to cast a wide net in order to make it worthwhile. A wide net in terms of the functions, in terms of really pushing to maximize what we can pull into the center in terms of work, and also not have too many exceptions where you say, okay, this country is an exception, that country is an exception. So we really looked at what roles must be local, what roles can absolutely be centralized, and then kind of the gray area where it could be centralized, but maybe people feel uncomfortable about it.
Yes.
And that gave us, of course, a business case was a key part of our decision to move forward. My experience, though, with shared services is it's still a bit sensitive, controversial, right? And at the end, it really requires somebody at the top to say, we're doing this, right?
Yes.
And sticking their neck out and saying, we're moving forward. And you need that in order to get the ball rolling.
And in the case of MSA, was that your CFO or the CEO? Who was the?
No, that was me, really, because
okay.
The burning platform as the business leader was in my region, right?
Okay, got it.
That did require, of course, getting some alignment on the executive leadership team and support, right? Although MSA is over 100 years old, what's great is we're quite progressive with things like this. So we had a very clear alignment on the functions, the exact positions, right, to move, and on that basis we progressed. And what I think helped in a way for us, there were some challenges tied to it, but COVID, of course, created a reality of awareness that jobs can be done in other locations, right?
Yes.
And for the let's say the support for shared services as a pillar of the strategy, that certainly poured a bit of oil on the fire to say, hey, this can work, right? And potentially over time, on a more global basis.
Right.
There's some challenges that have come with that as well. So we did a lot of migrations during COVID. We hired a lot of people during COVID in Warsaw, and that represents some challenges that I think we can talk about as well.
So how did you decide? How did you finalize the decision about Poland and Warsaw? Because lots of other options out there.
Yeah, we through our business case process, we obviously narrowed it to a handful of options. We did, for the sake of transparency, also put into the business case, what if we were to centralize in one of our bigger existing locations in Germany and France, just to show the financial implications, right? That was a quick discussion, obviously. So we obviously knew we were going to have to explore lower labor cost locations. We were not, though, looking at just being the cheapest, right? We also felt strongly about the quality of the work, the culture that we wanted to have in our center, and for a whole host of reasons, balancing things out, we settled on Poland first. Okay. One of the big reasons was because we were already active there. So given that we were kind of sticking our neck out a bit, we said, look, let's start somewhere where we already have an HR capacity in place and some basic things in office, right? Within Poland, we reflected on various options and settled on Warsaw there as well. Not necessarily the cheapest, but we operate very much globally, so the ability to easily travel and fly
Yes.
was a key factor for that. And then again, we had an office already in Warsaw, so
Yes,
kind of
it makes it easier.
Was the easy choice. Yeah.
Right. So I understand you're about 230 people already, and you've done your kind of official launch very recently. Tell us a bit about what services they are doing. Is it F&A? Is it more than that? Take us through some of the services that you're.
Sure. Yeah. Customer service, inside sales. Interesting maybe to talk about FP&A, accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger accounting, supply chain, purchasing, IT, and a range of marketing, in particular customer marketing and some marketing communications work. I may have missed something, but it's a relatively broad range of functions.
Yes. And in terms of the global HQ, MSA Saftey, in terms of this cost savings, and is your CFO saying, you deliver me 8% savings on SG&A across the board, or is there sort of a metric like that? I'm curious kind of how that discussion takes place.
Yeah, well, obviously there was a business case with very clear commitments, right, in terms of the restructuring required and the expected savings coming from that. There's an attractive return on that, to be perfectly frank. There were some other aspects to that as well, that one of the benefits of being in Poland is just the flexibility of the labor regulatory framework, right? So it's a lot easier to change things in the organization, a lot less expensive if you want to make changes, and that's of course a long-term benefit. That if we ever want to make some adjustments to how we're set up, we're a lot more flexible in Poland than say Germany, France, places like that.
Yes.
Now, in terms of so we had a clear commitment what to deliver with shared services, financially, just in the near term, that labor arbitrage, right? We don't have a specific target around SG&A, but what we do have is very much a continuous improvement kind of mindset that we always need to be looking for productivity. I think in the journey we're on, we're not yet complete with our migrations, so we still have some migration work to do from local countries into the service center. But we're already starting to transition a bit with our team in Warsaw towards, okay, how can we now set up our processes differently? What can we automate, as opposed to just being focused on keeping things running like they were running in the past.
The lift and shift approach.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yes, we're relatively late in the game for the SSEs, but as I said, there's still many more guys coming. And I can roll off 4 or 5 or 6 just from last year, but I won't. But I want to ask you what lessons learned you got. Let's say the next guys are coming in 2023, whether from US, Germany, Scandinavia. Mistakes that you've made or advice you'd give them as they come in. I'm curious what lessons learned that you can pass on to us.
Yeah, sure. One point is, in any case, there needs to be somebody who says we're going to do this, right? If this is going to be by committee, that doesn't work at the end of the day. And it could be a whole host of, a CFO often does this, right? Or in my case, as a business leader, I push this. So you really need somebody to lead the charge, right? Not day-to-day manage it, that's a different task, but to say it's a priority and we're going to get this done, because it's not a popular topic necessarily.
Yes.
I think another key thing is what really helped in this case. Again, I've had some other experiences in the past with shared services, is we went out of our way to document exactly every job that was in scope, and that avoided discussions later around, well, I'd rather not move this, I'd rather not do that, right? When you have different managers who maybe get cold feet, right? And it's
there probably weren't documents. Probably a lot of things weren't documented at all, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So we focus not on the names of the people in the job, right? But the positions, right? So having that explicitly documented and then getting that signed off ensured avoiding a lot of wasted energy during the migration process. Now, originally, we intended for a large part to migrate based on voluntary attrition, and we found over time that it was worthwhile to accelerate. So in a number of cases, every time for different reasons, we decided to still primarily do it with voluntary attrition, but also do a bit more purposeful restructuring around this. And a lot of that had to do with just we were very happy with the talent that we were hiring in Poland, and how they were picking things up, and that quickly made us feel comfortable about stepping on the accelerator a little bit.
Great. Well, we like to keep these interviews kind of short and sweet so people listen to the whole thing. So let's begin to wrap up. How do you look at the next couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years? Where will you go? Are you where you want to be, or you develop? Tell us a bit about the next couple of years for MSA.
Yeah, I think there's 3 things there. First, complete the migrations, so we can get that out of the way, right? We in Warsaw have around 230 positions. We'd probably be heading towards 300. So that's step 1. Step 2, make the switch towards really driving process improvements. And I think the last thing is, with the success of this initiative here in Warsaw, we're now reflecting more globally on how do we organize our support functions, and do we leverage shared services more on a global scale. There's one additional point that I think is worthwhile. On our journey, we very much started with support functions, but now, and COVID again helped with that, our center in Poland is also really a revenue supporting location for us, right? I mentioned that we also do inside sales.
Inside sales, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see as we explore globally, how do we go further with this? How do we go up the value chain, perhaps, right? And that's a question mark still.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen a lot of people looking at the starts off in the back office and moves middle office, and we're seeing more and more of those companies move a little bit more step by step in the front office. So that seems to be
exactly
consistent with what you're saying. Interesting. Bob, thank you for your time. Thanks for the openness to tell us about MSA Saftey and MSA International, and good luck on the journey with the rest as you keep expanding. Hope to see you in Warsaw sometime.
Excellent. Thank you very much.